Now today, Stefano Utoikamanu notified the West Tigers that he will be leaving the club. Have we got some more information on this? This is something, again, we've spoken about quite a bit. We predicted this. We knew that he was going. But still, to officially announce it, big news for him and big news for the Tigers. And what's next for Stefano?
Well, he walked in training at 8 o'clock this morning, banged on Benji Marshall's door before he put his boots on and said, mate, I'm going. And that was it. Then he addressed the players and
he banged on the door.
Yeah, well, he did. He wanted to tell Benji first out of respect, and he joins a long list of players who have walked out on that club, and it's a concern for them. It's not a money decision. He'll sign with Canterbury. He'll sign with Melbourne. It'll be for less money than the West Tigers offered him.
Less money.
Less money. Could have got a lot more at St George Illawarra or the Canberra Raiders.
Or the Dolphins.
Yeah, or the Dolphins, but he wants to improve his game under a great coach, and it's a big rap for Cameron Serraldo that he's considering the Bulldogs.
Yeah. It's a slap in the face to the Tigers, though.
Yeah, I feel for the West Tigers, Braith. You know, we're often criticised for taking a chainsaw to them every week, but in fairness and in reality, they do bring a lot on themselves. And if you look at the 4 seasons that Stefano's had there, he's won 15 games out of 70. So that's a 21% success rate. To Buzz's point about how he's prepared to take less money, he wants to get back to playing State of Origin. I think he's got a desire to represent Australia at some point. He wants to try and win premiership. So it's not a decision at all about freight. It's all about trying to become a better NRL player and achieve his potential. Gordy, I heard you say last week that the $800,000 a year offer, it probably is overs in terms of what he's done.
It is a little bit too much for what he's achieved. You just said that he's just won 15 out of whatever. You know, like the good players drag him up. You watch when when Brisbane were right at the bottom, he was the best player on the field every time. I don't see that in him. On the Matty John show last night, Angus Crichton goes, God, I want to become a front rower. As soon as his price tag went up, he goes, God, why aren't I a front rower? Yeah. I just think it's a little bit hard for fans to believe in this day and age when as soon as a player plays 5 games, they want to get out and test the market, that someone goes to another club for less money. I just think it's really hard to
Well, would you say that
fans.
to Luke Brooks? Did Luke Brooks get more money to go to Manly? I don't think he did. Tommy Talau, Luke Garner, Dane Laurie, John Bateman's going.
Hold on.
Papali'i. Why is it Gordy?
On Luke Brooks, that's what he would have got offered, I think, at every other club. So that's what would have got offered.
But why didn't he want to...
Sorry, I think part of the Stefano decision, Gordy, is he doesn't want to become the next Luke Brooks. And Luke Brooks was absolutely hammered from pillar to post. He's still got the record for the most games played without featuring in a final. In all likelihoods, he will break that this year. But that's the criticism that comes with the territory of being at the Tigers. He has still got the Barbie. I'm not sure if he's switched it on yet.
Before we get to where we think he'll land or what we're hearing, what about the Tigers? How have they responded today?
Well, Shane Richardson's come out and said we want players who are up for the fight, and that was a little bit of a slap in the face, wasn't it? Basically saying...
But it's a great message.
Yeah.
It is a really good message.
But is he saying everyone who's walked out over the last 12 months, and I've just reeled off 7 names, they're all playing good footy now. Yep. You're saying they weren't up for the fight, or are you saying that...
They want to attract people that are up for the fight. So Luai's going, so the players that they're going to attract
they
are
don't
there.
Have a front rower, Gordy. Where are they going to find a front rower?
Well, they'll find one.
Where? Who wants to go there outside of Jerome Luai? This is a crisis, mate. They're about to win their 3rd wooden spoon. Players are walking out the door. And it's a crisis. It really is. And I'm not blaming Shane Richardson for it. This has been happening over a long period of time.
That is the problem. They're losing their best forward and they're coming last. And they can't replace that best forward with...
Who's their second best? Papali'i.
But that's what I'm saying.
Who's their 3rd best? Bateman.
Exactly. They're in
No, I'd disagree on those, Buzz. They've got some good young forwards.
They don't want to be there,
emerging, Fanua Bole, Justin Matamua, those types of players. They've been strong.
Are they ready to play front row next year and drag them off the bottom?
Well, they've been strong this season. I would argue they've been in just as good a form as any of those blokes that you've mentioned.
How do they stack up against the Roosters pack, the Penrith pack?
Yeah, well, they're on the bottom.
About the heavyweights, mate. You're talking about the heavyweights.
Well, I'm saying that they're not in the ballpark to climb off the bottom.
It is an issue, Braith.
Like there's some front rowers at Parramatta, right, that might get a tap on the shoulder, right? So there's talk. There are players around right? And you got Pangai and you got Wayne leaving the Dolphins, and you're going to get players moved on at South. Every year, Wayne always said there's players that fall out of love with coaches every year, and coaches fall out of love with players. So there'll be enough on the market.
You raise a great point, Gordy, but it is an issue and a challenge for the Tigers that at the moment, and again, we'll get accused of kicking them when they're down, but it's just the truth. At the moment, they're a club where the players go and it essentially can be a career killer. Look at Stefano. He went from Parramatta. Yeah. He was one of the most highly touted front rowers in the game at the time, emerging, right? And then he's had 4 seasons there to only win 15 games out of 70. I can understand why he's frustrated. You blokes have been inside those dressing rooms. Gordy, it's not fun when you're losing all the time.
The point is this, Stefano could stay and be guided by Benji Marshall, who I like and is working very, very hard, and John Morris. Yep. Or you can go to Canterbury and have Phil Gould and Cameron Ciraldo. Or you can go to the Roosters and have Trent Robinson and Nick Politis. It's not a choice. Yeah. The West Tigers don't have a magnet there to keep these players there.
Gould's doing a good job, isn't he, Gus? He's doing a great job. All right, now, there's 2 clubs, right, that are in line here. It's either the Bulldogs or the Melbourne Storm. Now, I've spoken to both camps. Both camps are very confident of securing Stefano. The Bulldogs are hesitant to pay the money because they, like us, don't think he's probably worth the 800. Melbourne, I think, are okay with the money. Although what I've heard, and I want to get the information from you guys, I've heard that he's got a young family here. His wife wants to stay here. His wife's mother's in Sydney. They've got a young child at the moment to help, and the mother would help out with the children. So his preference is to stay in Sydney. So and I said it last week, I actually think the Dogs are in the box seat here. Melbourne, powerhouse, but Dogs on the improve, playing the way that they are, and looking like they are a premiership threat in the next couple of years, and he doesn't need to leave Sydney. I've got them dead set getting him. That's how I see it.
It's funny, I just got a text message from a bloke in the know saying that he's going to the Bulldogs.
There you go.
Now, I'm not saying that officially. It's just a very strong tip. He's got a game of footy Thursday night, Hoops.
Yes,
they're playing.
And
I think he might announce on Friday that he's going to the Bulldogs, according to your mail and my mail.
Okay. Yeah, everything you just said there, Braith, is 100% on the money. The Melbourne element is interesting because I know Shane Richardson at the West Tigers, I believe he's gone to the NRL and actually pushed in a formal complaint. How can Melbourne possibly match the money that we've offered, which is $800,000 a season times 5? I don't know where that's going to get to. And then the other degree of difficulty is the Melbourne Storm have been looking to offload Nelson Asofa Solomona. Yeah. Up until now, they haven't had any takers.
Christian Welsh as well, maybe, or not?
I've heard his name. I haven't had that 100% confirmed.
What about the Bulldogs? The mighty Bulldogs destroy the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium. What a season it is becoming for the mighty blue and white, celebrating in style and playing a brand of footy that I haven't seen them play in a very long time. They are the real deal. They exposed the Broncos in every way possible. Their attack was scintillating. It was precise, and the coaching from Ciraldo was special. And the defence again was, well, they're the second best defensive team in the competition this year after being the worst last year. What a transformation this has been, and what a performance this was. Shall I come to you, Buzz, on the weekend?
Mate, he's on the Gus bus.
You're on the Gus bus yet or not?
I told you a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know why you keep bringing it up.
You know what? Mate, I know it annoys you.
Yeah, how could you not be on the bus? How could you possibly not be on the bus?
You're on the bus.
And what I like about it is that the good sides coming up to finals are going upwards, and that attacking performance, I don't know if they're dogs of war, whether they're entertainers or what they are. Cameron Ciraldo said they're just the 2024 version of the Canterbury Bulldogs. Now and again, I pull out a meter, a scandal meter.
Oh, you've got the meter?
Yeah, I've got the meter out.
What meter have we got?
I'm going to give you an energy meter.
Energy? How do you measure that?
Well,
what is it, 0 to 10?
Well, it's easy, actually. Suncorp Stadium, Saturday afternoon, they turned up with 9.5 out of 10 energy.
How'd you find 9.5 quickly?
Because it's his energy.
Mate, I don't know. I was watching him on TV.
No,
it wasn't hard to do.
I just wonder how you got the 9.5.
Well, it was near a 10, but it wasn't quite. How do you think I got it?
Carry on, Buzzy.
The Broncos were? They were about a 3, if that.
Okay, well,
Buzz.
And Cameron Ciraldo was...
right?
Sorry.
And it was the Bulldogs, they were the entertainers, and it was the Dogs of War. And we asked him, what does this side stand for? And he goes, we won't be outworked, which when you just watch it, and I know it's easy in hindsight, and you look at the way the Dogs go about their job, they might get beaten, but they get beaten on ability. They don't get beaten because they try to get more blue and white jerseys in every picture.
Buzz isn't on the Gus bus, Braith. He's in the Seraldo jet. Because when you look at where they've come from last year, when it was horrible, as you touched on, they conceded more than 700 points. They've halved that this year. So they're averaging 32 points a game leaked in defence last year. Now it's 16. And you look at that blueprint that they designed on Saturday afternoon. You can see Jason Taylor, he's doing their attack, sitting there in the coach's box as well. Cameron Seraldo specifically mentioned him yesterday when we spoke to him, Gordy. He said he deserves a lot of the credit too. But the way that they were happy to risk early shifts, really hit that down the left edge, and reap the results, it's been first class.
Let's be honest, I think everyone's got a bit of egg on their face here because...
You too.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, Buzzy.
That's good.
Can you let me carry on?
I'm glad because you were heavy on them too.
Last year I was.
You keep coming to me.
I was, and I'll tell you why. Because,
not as heavy as you, Buzz.
You've been heavy until about 2 weeks ago, right? So the egg on the face, I mean, is the recruitment. And but it's not just us. Everyone was critical, even their own fans at one point, because
they full of utilities.
Yeah, they got all the utilities, but I mean, I don't even think it's so much their recruitment. It's what they've created inside the four walls that's just got the best out of every player there, and they're playing a certain style and playing with resilience, and they've got that Bulldogs DNA back. But let's be fair, all of us question their recruitment, especially when they didn't start the season. Well, they were pretty rusty too there.
I think they were 0-2.
Yeah, so it was fair enough, but they have proven everyone wrong.
Braith, we didn't think they had a front rower. Most of us didn't. Too small. We didn't think they had a halfback. Who came over from...
Well, Drew Hutchison was the starting halfback for the opening 4 to 6 weeks of the year.
And Toby was playing second grade, like he was on the Gold Coast. We questioned it.
That was his best game as a Bulldog on the weekend.
He's been playing strong for a long period of time, and as I said, look, I've been giving it to him, and I thought they had too big a turnover of players, and there was never a chance to... 66-0 they were beaten in Newcastle, round 18 last year.
Yep.
That place was in a heap.
And what was so impressive about the win was that they were coming up against the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium away, and the Broncos needed to win to make the final. So I think everyone just thought, well, you know what, no Stephen Crichton a couple of days out, ruled out. So everyone's just thinking, well, this is the Broncos. They're going to win this game, really. They just had to, and they didn't. We even questioned the run home the Bulldogs have because they got a tough one, and we thought, you know what, they'll probably lose. Here it is here, right? So they got the Raiders, Dragons, Dolphins, Warriors, Seagulls and Cowboys. We went through this last week, but we thought with the Broncos one, they most likely would lose that, and then they'd be under pressure to maintain their spot with these games coming up. But now these games don't look so hard. Last week they looked probably harder than what they do now because of that performance.
It was a statement performance, wasn't it? So like to go there and score 41 points, it was a beautiful day in Brisbane, 42,000. I thought this is when Brisbane were going to turn it on. I didn't think the Dogs had that many points. So yeah, they defend, but sometimes you need the scoreboard ticking over in your favour as well, and they've got that going now. So they're doing a fantastic job. They're going to be hard to beat.
Now I think they're a realistic shot at the top four, Gordy. They're 8-0 at home this year, and they have a decent draw in relation to games at home over the remaining 6 rounds. You mentioned no Stephen Crichton, also no Josh Adokar, no Max King. Crichton and Adokar are both expected back into first grade soon. So you throw them, they're both representative players, into what's already becoming an electric and dangerous backline. They're the best story of the season, Braith.